So my goal is to be going live with Evolve at the end of Feb, so that gives us just over 4 weeks. Now with that, I do want to be going live with 5 chapters. First chapter being the base camp, which is kind of inspired by the whole Mount Everest and mountaineering that. Keeping within brand, we've got the mountain. Base camp is the first level which you start off your journey, so it all ties in with that. I do want to be focusing and making sure that I'm providing actual quality content, so I don't want to be rushing that. So we may not go live with that, and the launch may be geared towards people with a little bit more experience until that's released, because I don't want to rush things. There's no point rushing quality just to get stuff out there. I want to go live with as much as I can. That's why it's great having a subscription service, because it means that every month there is going to be new and fresh content. You're not just starting out and then just waiting for it. It is a drip feeding process, so it serves itself very well to that. And you may notice that I'm now in my kitchen. I've got this little setup. Basically, this is a little tip, especially if you're full-time, or you're thinking of going full-time, or even you're going to be going into a job which allows you to work from home. It's always good to mix things up and not become stagnant. I find if I spend too much in the day, obviously I've got a standing desk, I'll every few hours go from standing to sitting to mix things up, but it's always good to change up your environment as well. I like to just, instead of looking at the large screen, just focus in. So especially with trading, all my alerts are set. I know exactly how I'm going to execute, so there's no point needing such a grand space. All I need to do is look at the hourlies, and once I get those alerts, execute on them. So it gives me a lot more freedom throughout the day. So this is video 1. The aim is to be doing a video every week until we launch. So what have we done so far? In this video, we're going to be talking about the branding and the naming, how we got to Evolve, and then we're going to talk about the platform and what I've decided to go with in terms of hosting the course. And then there's going to be a behind the scenes of filming one of the strategy videos, which is going to be part of the trading material. So right now I'm actually editing one of the videos. What I've got to be doing, so there's quite a lot of work going into this, is not only edit the YouTube videos that you're seeing here, and also edit the content for the website. So it's a new skill for me as well, but I want to make sure it's the best it can possibly be. So everything is just done by myself. So I'm not by any means an experienced video editor or anything like that. It's now becoming obviously a hobby. It's also become a necessity to be working on Evolve. So obviously I haven't got the skill set. What I'm using is Final Cut Pro. So Final Cut Pro is very cheap. I think it's only a couple of £100, and that's the software I'll be using for all of my video editing now. And because I haven't got the skill set to be creating my own generators, I've been using websites like Innovator Elements to essentially find some of the title sequences to essentially give it that more professional touch. So if you see anything on YouTube or most subscription services as well, they'll be using a lot of this because it's quicker, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and it just makes everything look flash. So there are actually similar websites to this, and you've got to be careful you don't get stung. There was a couple of things I wanted to do. I wanted to have an audio visualizer just to start the video out, give it each video an intro, and then give it like a, like an equalizer feel, and also a progress bar. I got stung for, it was £20, so it's not the end of the world, but it's still, I just paid 20 quid for a video. Literally, it was just a video, so afterwards in the instructions, it actually just says, oh, you can just change the colour scheme, the grayscale on it to make it the colour that you desire. So essentially you're just changing the RGBA rather than actually being a file that you can customise yourself. So Innovator is quite good because you can do a monthly subscription. It's around £34, but there's a lot of stuff that you can get in. So I'm just doing the 34 subscription, taking everything that I want, and then I'm cancelling it. So I don't need to use that website anymore. Not really any reason to actually complicate the analysis process. So let me just take you through an example of doing a top-down analysis, because all we care about is where the market has come from and potentially where it's going to be going. So looking where the path of least resistance essentially is. So starting off with pound Aussie, if we go on to the weekly, where have we come from, or where have we been reacting towards? So what I can do is mark in this area. So right now I can see that we've got this area of supply. Now why is that an area of supply? Well, if you look how we've come up, we've got a sharp move up and then a sharp move down, and then we've got this kind of base in price action here, and then we've dropped further. So to me that is an area of supply. So if you've marked that in, we can actually see that we've had that reaction. So we've come up to here and then we've had this sharp weekly retrace, but now we've just come all the way back up. So what I'm doing now is just determining whether this holds again, so if we're coming back in, or if we break. So based on the weekly, for me to consider a long, I would want this to break, come to retest, and then this trend just continues. So I'm just looking to play the continuation on that trend. However, if we're coming into here, what we could very well be doing is just coming back into weekly supply and then moving down. So right now, that's all I care about. If we break this, then I'll be looking for potential longs if it confirms. Otherwise, right now we're approaching and we're filling that previous weekly wick or the weekly candle, we could potentially be having some form of reaction from there. So that's all I care about in terms of the weekly. But if we were to push off, where could we potentially be going down to? Well, just keep things simple. Where was the last place that we've now pushed off of? This here. So we've got this area of supply. So the very low of that weekly candle to the high of the body. So if we do push up, or if we do push off of that area, we could be coming down to this weekly supply. Now obviously if we break that, we've now got a new trend, haven't we? So it continues down, and where's the next area that we're looking for? It will be around these lows here, or most likely this area, based on the push off, then the pullback, and then this push up. But this is what, 800 pips away. So I'm not going to have a target of 1500 pips because we know that we could get some long opportunities once we come down to this area of liquidity. So right now, as I said, just looking at that area of, or looking where the path of least resistance could be, and then just playing between those areas. So that's the weekly. That's as simple as we need to keep the weekly. So what I do now is go onto the daily and then just do some refinement. Because we had this push off, this becomes its own fresh supply. Now because this bullish candle is so large, as you know in the supply and demand section, you're going to learn how we actually identify and draw these. But for the sake of just talking about top-down analysis, I'm not going to go too much into detail just yet. So this is my area. So looking to see price come into this daily supply and see how we react from there essentially. Now we don't have to reach that, we can obviously come down from here because we have slightly tapped it. And again, where will I be looking for essentially a possible turning point in the market? Well, it's going to be here, because we come down to this area of demand once, pushed off, had a pullback, and then we pushed off. So this is the most fresh area of demand that I'm looking for. So between here, I'm seeing whether I can capitalise on a move down, and obviously if we break above and then we retest this, then obviously I'm going to change my bias. Going down onto the lower time frames to see if there's anything else that we can determine that could have a turning point. So we're just looking at price action, and so in this scenario, this is where I take advantage of the advanced reversal strategy, see whether we can actually pinpoint the turning point in the market and get in from that top. Now if we don't get that, then I'll be looking at getting in on the T&G strategy. So as you know, we've got two strategies, and one is getting on the reversal and the second one is just getting in on that trend. This was our daily supply, but if we look at previous price action here, we had this push down, then we've got this base in, then we've got that large push off. Find this a little bit more and essentially see whether we come in for a double top. So we're looking at price going a little bit further. What would be beautiful to see really is a fouled double top. So a foul break of the last high. So if we pushed up like this and then retraced, essentially we've filled all of the orders within this area of supply, got that liquidity, taking out some stops as well, and then that's creating the move down. As you can see, we're very corrective moving into it as well. And then what we can do is start drawing in structure. So this is the only time I really care about drawing in any structure. Just ascertaining whether perhaps we get a third touch up here, so we do break this a little bit further, reach that daily supply, coming into weekly. So that would be ultimately the highest probability outcome, but we could come down from here. We've retested these highs here, and then we just push back up again. So obviously this trend could continue, but we could be forming is into that structure that we discussed on the 4 hourly. So this is just a continuation up to here. So really, if we look to here, I wouldn't get too excited. Would not get too excited because that move could just be moving up to the daily highs and then we push down. But obviously we do have this very corrective price action here. Now, based on the ARS strategy, so as you can see, I was literally just filming one of the topics for chapter 3. What I've been doing is, once I've doing my analysis, I'm trying to combine that into kind of a little lesson that I can include in the course. And that one was a multi-time frame analysis, so that just gave you a little snippet of that. Now, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I essentially just live with spreadsheets. What I've done was essentially plan out the entire video series through Google Sheets. So, I mean, you could have used something like Notion or Trello or something like that, but I find just writing out everything that you intend to have on every single chapter, all the topics. So what I've got is 11 chapters, and within there's an average of around 5 to 10 topics within that I want to be discussing. So what I've done was just outline everything, broken it down into 3 core series as well, so it's around 4 chapters each, and just done simple columns, so written, filmed, edited, uploaded, essentially, so I can keep track. But yeah, I essentially just have Google Sheets for everything. So after actually planning out the entire course, one of the most important things, I guess, is actually coming up with a name. Now, with a subscription service, it kind of lends itself to becoming an MVP. You can essentially start off with a minimal viable product. As you saw, I had 11 chapters. It means that I don't have to wait until I've written and filmed every single chapter. What I'm doing is going forward with 5 chapters, so it means there's a lot less pressure. So I can just push that forward, and then as a subscription, you can obviously get a chapter every single month from there. So you're kind of drip feeding. And that's why I love the subscription model, because my goal is obviously to make it accessible, and through accessible is making it affordable. And to make it affordable, the best way is to have a subscription. So it means that people could take some people 3 months to digest that, but also catering from all the weekly stuff as well. Going with an MVP, it allows you to go in a little bit rough and ready. So what I've done is I started off with the naming, and I'm going to solidify that. So when I started out, it was actually starting out with something called simply trading. I wanted everything just to be trading related, not including all the mindset or different areas of life, telling people to stop speaking to their friends and stuff like that. I just wanted it trading orientated. Everything you need to become a professional trader and a consistent trader. When I started to analyse what the why behind everything is, so if you've read Simon Sinek, Start With Why, it's a very good book and I recommend that. It talks about, finding your purpose within any business itself, and people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So having a strong ethos and purpose from the very beginning is very important. So simply trading didn't really serve itself to that. What I wanted is to have more of a message behind it, and also where I could branch out into other areas. Kind of gravitated towards the word evolve. Evolve essentially means to gradually progress, and I believe that's how you should evolve with anything. So you can use it for pretty much everything: fitness, trading, your career. You're going to slowly progress, and that's what trading is. It's a constant evolving. You're evolving with the market, you're evolving as a person, your trading's evolving. You don't just pick up trading and call yourself a consistent trader. You're not consistent after a month. I see people say, I picked up trading and now I'm consistent after 6 months. Well, until you've got a 12-month track record, you're not consistent. Everything that I've got my hand to, and what most people have already got accessible to them, is Canva. So Canva is actually just an online design tool, really. I use it for thumbnails, I use it for Instagram posts, I pretty much use it for quite a lot. And what you can do is make logos from it. So that way it means I've got a blueprint, and not only can I go live on my own site, so all the kind of business assets, the header, the logos, any business cards or YouTube channels or Instagram channels, I can go live with that, and it's enough to actually build up interest. And then I can use Fiverr, network of designers, and give them that idea so they've got something to work from, and then obviously they can make something a lot cleaner and sharper. My first idea was actually this kind of representation of a mountain. So I want the core kind of symbol behind Evolve to be a mountain. So it's the thing with a mountain is it's slowly evolved itself, hasn't it? It's basically from plates pushing up and pushing up, but also it's the climb. You're doing a gradual climb. If you want to climb Everest, you don't just climb straight to the top. You know, it takes a few months. You go up, down, up, down, up, down, and I think you end up mountaineering it about up to 10 times or something. I'm not sure on the exact figures. So it's a gradual process. So I think a mountain is a true reflection of the evolve itself. Now I did have this abstract interpretation. I just typed in mountain. So what I've done was go into the elements and then search for the elements that I wanted. Wasn't really liking that, but I also wanted an eye. So I quite like the whole Illuminati thing with the all-seeing eye. Well, the all-seeing eye could essentially be you evolving in. So it's kind of like an interpretation in that. So my logo gradually evolved. I started out with this, wasn't really happy with that geometric kind of look, and ended up just finding this little symbol down here. So I wanted a black on white theme, and yeah, ended up with this, more of a centrally aligned logo, evolve. So really, the evolve will always be the brand, and what's underneath is essentially that product. So the next important task is actually finding a platform to essentially host the entire video material. There's two ways you can go about it, one being the bespoke way, which would be perhaps using something like WordPress or developing an entire site yourself, or taking the avenue of a fully hosted solution. Now the benefit of going bespoke is it means that obviously you've got the entire control over the whole system, all the branding, all the designs and all the assets are controlled by you, and you're very limited in what you can do. Being a software developer, it's obviously going to be a lot easier to do something like that, but obviously someone who hasn't got those skills can't take that option. It is good you can have the control. You obviously got the drawbacks of time and of course processes. If you're doing a bespoke solution, if you're, for example, you've got a WordPress site that's actually hosting everything, just using a simple CMS and then you're just skinning the front end, you're going to need to host your video somewhere. So somewhere to have it privatized would obviously be something like Vimeo. However, going with the bespoke, you're obviously creating more processes that you need to go through. Now, with me, because I'm having more focus on the actual content, trying to deliver more value and essentially being a one-man band, I essentially want to streamline my processes rather than build stuff on top of each other. I mean, if you've got a larger team, then obviously you can build that out, but larger teams is obviously more overheads and more expenses. So that's not an interest to me. So the second way is obviously go through a hosted solution. The hosted solution, there's two real contenders that I see, and they are Teachable and Thinkific. Now, Teachable, as I can understand, is more so just a course platform software. So you can upload your courses, your quizzes, format them in any particular way that you want. So it's an ideal way of actually hosting it. However, it doesn't come with another website, so it just takes you to the Teachable platform. So it means that if you want to do a sales funnel or anything like that, or just generally private pages to get lead captures, I don't believe it has that functionality. However, I have found Thinkific, which is, in my eyes, pretty good. So what they've done is they tried to mimic Shopify in terms of how you can skin the site. So you have full control of what your website essentially looks like, so you can brand it to be more focused towards your brand and have more control over it that way. But also what I really like about it is, one, not only do you get your first course free, but two, you can actually create pages in essence for your funnels. So you have your splash pages. So something like Teachable, you need something else. So you either need a bespoke funnel developed, or you need something like ClickFunnels or lead pages to have people to land to, especially if you're doing any marketing, or with my approach, obviously it's going to be from YouTube. I don't want to just take people straight to a Teachable link. I'd rather have an actual branded page, which is on brand, that also breaks down everything that's going to be included in that course. Thinkific is the one for me. So not only do you get the first course free, which is superb, because something like Teachable, yes, it's cheap, it's around $49 per course. However, with my subscription, it's going to be £20 a month per person. So it means I need around 3 people to essentially break even. So if I'm breaking even and it doesn't kick off, then it's just not it lowers that risk to entry. Obviously £60 a month or £50 a month isn't a lot of money, but you know, after 12 months, obviously that's going to be stacking up, and it's essentially going to be putting this side project into negative equity or negative returns. So it's not really a favourable solution. And I want to be approaching it from an MVP model, which is essentially minimal viable product. So I'm happy to go with something a little bit more simpler and get it out there than, you know, have all of these different mechanisms in place. The less processes you have, the less you can fall over. So let's jump in and I'll show you everything behind Thinkific. Once you log on, you just see this. It's just very basic stuff. What you can do is go into design your site, go into site builder, and this is where it's very similar to Shopify. So down the left hand side, if you're familiar with Shopify, it has essentially the same things. So you've got this area here, so you've got custom pages, you've got default pages, you've got your courses, so it means you can, so they can come onto here, it gives them all the information, it gives them a pre-generated course curriculum, so they can do that breakdown, and then they can subscribe. But what I did was go into custom pages, and then I created this register interest. As you can see, I've got this countdown timer saying it's going to be launching here. Enter your details here if you're interested, and then just exactly what's going to be included in that product. And then also what we can do is build out the home page, so once that launches, so once you go onto the site, and then obviously I'll be linking it through to YouTube and any marketing that I do, they come on straight to this page. So this will be the home page. You essentially just break down everything. So instead of ClickFunnels, you can essentially do everything through Thinkific. So as you can see here on the side, you can just add sections just like Shopify. So it's very handy and very useful. So I was very pleased with this one in the end, and that's why I went with that. And of course you do get it for free as well. You get your first course free. So considering I'm only going to have one bit of learning content, it serves itself well, and it's also pretty cheap anyway once you do start getting charged for it. But yeah, same here, you create your course and then you just create all of your chapters or your modules, and it's, you know, super simple. So something like Thinkific, I highly recommend it, and it's a good one if you're going with the MVP style. So, you know, you're looking for that minimum viable product to launch with. I think it serves itself very well.